I'm doing it again. The last two times were not successful, and all I can do is hope for the best today. What am I doing? I'm flying on Delta 1021 again, with service from Orlando to LaGuardia. Sure, I need to get to New York, but getting there is just as important to me as being there, and I have once again chosen a seat on the right side of the plane, just like the last couple of times I flew on Delta 1021. My goal has been to land on runway 22 with right traffic, so Manhattan will be on the right side of the plane coming into LaGuardia. That was the case all day long on August 30th, but the flight was delayed more than 6 hours, and a runway change led to runway 31 being the landing runway. On August 9th, runway 22 was the landing runway, and we were supposed to fly up the Hudson, but a reroute from Orlando had us fly an out-of-the-way northern arrival where we came straight into runway 22 from the north with no Manhattan view. I missed out twice. It's 3 strikes and you're out, so I'm willing to do it all over again today on Delta 1021. Here we go again. LaGuardia is indeed landing on runway 22 and departing on runway 13, which means that aircraft on vectors from the southwest like us can expect to fly west of LaGuardia and hopefully fly up the Hudson River before turning right around the Bronx to land on runway 22. More on that in a few moments. For now, we need to get to the airside by taking the train to where the Delta flights leave from. It's standard, but I noticed a plane that doesn't belong there. See that Delta connection Embraer? It was supposed to land in Jacksonville, but diverted here to Orlando due to severe weather in northern Florida. It needs to get back to Jacksonville. Let's go inside this airside. I'm always satisfied with the views here, but I'm looking out for one particular plane. This plane. This is the plane that will be taking me up to New York's LaGuardia. Its inbound flight number is actually the same, Delta 1021. It's considered to be a round robin. It starts at LaGuardia as Delta 1021, flies to Orlando, and then returns to LaGuardia as Delta 1021. Once it returns to LaGuardia, it continues on to another destination with a new flight number. Well, that's my flight, Delta 1021. I'm going to head on over to the gate area. Now, I've been pretty unlucky the last couple of times on this flight. I have always chosen a seat on the right-hand side of the aircraft for right traffic to runway 22, hoping that Manhattan will be on the right-hand side of the aircraft, and either we had a last-minute runway change or we do a northern approach instead of a southern approach, which is very typical from Florida, and it just doesn't work out. Today, the winds are favoring runway 22 for landing and runway 13 as the departure runway, so let's hope it works out. I'm on the right side, of course. I know this place well. I've had this view before. One time I had it for over 6 hours as my flight was delayed that long. There she is. Let's try Delta 1021 again. Today's routing should be a pretty standard routing coming in from the south. The first half will be a water route, then we'll do the standard proud arrival to LaGuardia. Hopefully, we'll get this right traffic pattern, and hopefully the approach controller will vector us up the Hudson River due to my strategic seat selection, of course, on the right-hand side of the aircraft. Let's see what happens today. Today's flight is just 10 minutes late. Let's board. Let's do 22, right traffic. 22, right traffic. Come on already. I might be the only person in the world who feels uncomfortable to be sitting in this Comfort Plus seat. It was the only seat I can get on the right side of the plane, but the engine blocks some of the view. I'd rather be a few rows forward or way in the back. I don't need the extra legroom or additional snacks. I want the unobstructed view. Here's our route. Of course, we won't be flying in a straight line. And here's Delta welcoming me back again. It should say, "Welcome back again to Flight 1021, Peter."
Please sit back into the runway just as quickly and safely as possible.
It's time to push back from gate 74. I'll provide ATC communications for the arrival phase of flight. This is a standard pushback that I've done several times, but finally I have something different to look forward to. I'm excited to report that runway 17 right will be our departure runway today. Too often it's been runway 18 left. Although they both head the same way, runway 18 left takeoffs typically send you to the right after takeoff. Today, we can expect a left-hand turn after taking off on runway 17 right. We'll be heading out over the ocean for a water route for the first half of the flight, unlike the last 2 times I flew on Delta 1021, where we flew inland for the whole flight. Here's that Delta connection plane that diverted here. It's still on the ground here and waiting for weather to clear up in Jacksonville. We're just waiting for another Embraer to get out of the way before we can taxi to runway 17 right. Ground control is having us taxi to the runway via taxiway Hotel 3, which leads out of the ramp area, and via taxiway Hotel, which parallels the runway. As we pull out, we see a Delta A320 that's been waiting for us to get out of its way before it can pull into the ramp. Here we're on Hotel, passing by Hotel 2. We can see all the markings on the ground indicating that this is a runway. Hotel 2 is one taxiway away from Hotel 1, and we'll use Hotel 1 to enter the runway and take off. Traffic is rather light today, and there's only one plane ahead of us, and this plane is already in position on the runway and awaiting takeoff clearance from the local controller. As soon as it moves, we'll be told to line up and wait. There goes Southwest. It's our turn now, and we're cleared to cross the painted lines on the ground and enter the runway and wait. What an exciting moment, and I'm thrilled to be on the right side of the plane as we make this right turn onto the runway. There's 10,000 feet of runway to look at here. That's 3,000 feet more than runway 22 at LaGuardia, our anticipated landing runway. As Southwest lifts off, we can see the plane that will follow us, a Virgin Atlantic A330. We'll see this plane once again as we speed down the runway. Once in position, we wait clearance for takeoff from the control tower. It won't be that long. Today, everything is operating efficiently, and despite leaving the gate 10 minutes late, we'll actually get to our gate early at LaGuardia. Okay, the moment has come. We're cleared for takeoff. We're airborne and are being handed off to the TRACON controller. Our departure calls for a left-hand turn after takeoff, which we're initiating now. The first left turn is actually part of a series of left-hand turns, which will lead us toward the Atlantic shoreline of Florida. The plane is to head out over the East Coast, over the ocean for a bit, then join the standard tracks for flights from Florida to the Northeast, with expected landfall around Wilmington, North Carolina. From that point, we'll continue to the Northeast, toward the New York City area, where our destination airport awaits us. Before we move forward, please take a moment to watch my sponsor message. With all the traveling I do, I find myself just sitting for hours on an airplane, and I need a way to make up for that, so I use my Yesol G1M Plus for a regular cardio workout. A breeze to put together, and at a great price point, this is the best stationary bike I've ever had. With so much time spent sitting, this is a great fit for my lifestyle, and using it doesn't take me away from what I need to do. It's all about fun cardio, as this bike features wired multimedia casting, making a typical cardio workout transformed into something enjoyable. I mean, who doesn't enjoy watching Peter Masella's YouTube channel while working out? I know I certainly watch my channel all the time, even when I'm not working out, because the screen rotates 360 degrees, so I can watch the screen when not sitting on the bike. I love having an additional screen in my home in a place where I normally would not have one. What a great feature. Working out and enjoyment go hand in hand with Yesol. As a traveler, I love this feature, which allows me to feel like I'm biking abroad. And when I want to take things very seriously, I just tune into instructor-led courses. I always leave it to the pros to tell me what to do. I'm an expert as an airline passenger, but I'm not an expert trainer. And statistics are always available to me. These are some fantastic metrics that provide me with the right information at the right time. And I'm not the only one who uses Yesol.
Hey, this is Peter Sr. here. I'm using Yesol on a regular basis, and let me tell you, it's working wonders for me as well.
That's right, my dad loves using this product. After all, he also sits on airplanes a lot and needs the cardio workout. He's especially fond of the 4-speaker system and 2 subwoofers for exceptional sound quality. As a viewer of this channel, you can take advantage of my discount code in the description below. It's exceptionally affordable. Imagine watching Netflix or the news or airplane videos while biking or at any angle. What a deal this is.
That's right, you heard it. You can get a great discount with my code.
You just gotta do it. But we've got a flight to continue on, so let's pick up where we left off. Delta 1021 is now approaching the coastline. Down there is Rockledge and Cocoa, Florida. The major road is Interstate 95. We're now approaching the Barrier Island area. Port Canaveral is just over the engine, and Cape Canaveral Space Force Station is on the left. Now we're over the ocean, and I have a beautiful vista of the Carnival Vista that just left Port Canaveral. It doesn't seem to be moving very fast with such a small wake. We've progressed far out enough over the ocean to join flights from South Florida that are headed to the northeast. After this turn, it's a rather straight run up to New York. This is popular airspace. Here's a Delta 737 flying the other way from LaGuardia to Miami. This JetBlue A220 is flying from Worcester to Fort Lauderdale. And this American 737 is flying from JFK to Miami. We're now over the land, but clouds prevented downward views for a good portion of this part of the flight. Things got better when we started our descent over the Delmarva Peninsula. In our descent down below, I saw an American A319 flying from Philadelphia to Orlando. Flying in the summertime can just be okay. There's too much haze out there to clearly see most sights in the ground, but the lower we get, the easier it will be to see things. Once we see McGuire Air Force Base and Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, we know we're getting close to landing. We have descended significantly on the proud arrival procedure, and it's now time for us to check in with New York Approach Control.
Approach Delta 1021, 12 and a half for Spinnerville Corey at 10. We have Kilo.
Delta 1021, New York, welcome. LaGuardia altimeter 3010. Keep it 300 or better.
300 better, Delta 1021.
LaGuardia is really busy today, and we're told to keep our speed up for this arrival. The controller needs to fit planes in behind us. I'll be playing air traffic control for some transmissions to other aircraft in the background, but for the next transmission, I'm going to play it at full volume because this information is important for all airplanes to hear.
And approach Pursuit over here 4660, possible drone at 4,200. That's just over us, our position right now.
Roger, you have a color?
No, I just saw something bright right over us.
This plane is further ahead, but once we get to 4,000 feet, we need to be on the lookout. A few moments later, the controller reported the potential drone conflict to all aircraft on the frequency.
National aircraft, possible drone reporting at 4,000, about 5 southeast at Newark, northbound on the Hudson by an Embraer, 4,200.
A few moments later, we were told to descend to 8,000 feet.
Delta 1021, descend and maintain 8,000.
8,000, Delta 1021.
Once clear of Newark departures like this JetBlue A320 from Newark to Orlando, we're told to descend to 4,000 feet.
Delta 1021, descend and maintain 4,000 when able, follow the Hudson.
At 4,000 when able, follow the Hudson, Delta 1021.
The controller also told us to follow the Hudson when able. This is the greatest news I've had all day. After multiple attempts flying on Delta 1021, always sitting on the right side is going to pay off this time in just a few minutes. We will follow the Hudson River northbound at 4,000 feet, and my seat is on the right side of the plane, meaning Manhattan will be just a few thousand feet below the window I'm looking through now. For me, the greatest moment one can have in aviation is right in front of me. I do, however, have a disclaimer message to all who try to replicate what I'm doing. Sometimes, instead of asking pilots to fly up the Hudson, the controller will provide a heading to fly northeastbound, and it might not lead to flying up the Hudson. It could be directly over Manhattan or even on Manhattan's east side. We're lucky today. I've done this many times before, and you can find many videos on this channel featuring this approach where we do what I consider to be perfect, which means flying up the Hudson, as well as imperfect approaches where my flight flew over the center of Manhattan or on the east side. But for today's approach, flying up the Hudson is guaranteed. We're descending to 4,000 feet, and that's the altitude that we'll keep for the journey up the river. The tallest building is 1,776 feet, which means that we'll be 2,224 feet above its highest point. The straight line distance, of course, will be a bit more since we won't be directly over it, but we'll get close and we'll have some great views. By the way, I'm referring to One World Trade Center, but we'll be close to them all, including Central Park Tower, 111 West 57th Street, 1 Vanderbilt, and so on. We're properly spaced between arrivals that joined our current route from the west and south, and we have our first glimpse of New York City out there. The peninsula is Breezy Point on the Rockaway Peninsula in Queens. The slight turns that you see us make are the pilot simply lining up properly with the Hudson River ahead. He'll be looking out the window for the next few minutes. Coming into view on this side of the plane is Coney Island, which is part of Brooklyn. We'll have continuous views of Brooklyn all the way to the point where Manhattan comes into sight. I want to apologize about the sky conditions. It's a tad hazy, and the windows have some smudges on them, but we are fortunate that the sun is on the other side of the plane, illuminating everything that's in sight on this side. Passengers on the other side of the plane can see Staten Island in New Jersey, but what they have to deal with is sun glare. It is what it is, and it's a fact that Delta 1021 is doing what I paid for. If you look really closely at the far end of the haze, you can see Kennedy Airport. It's been a while since I made a video to or from JFK. LaGuardia is so much closer to New York City for those great views, although there are two approaches to JFK that puts you right over or near Manhattan, and they're called the Lundy or Kingston arrivals, which puts you over Manhattan at around 13,000 feet. However, it's only used for planes coming from the north or west. These days, I pretty much just fly between Florida and New York, and chances are really low we'd approach JFK from the north or west, but an approach from the west could happen if the weather conditions along the normal route get so bad that we would have to fly from Florida toward Ohio and then approach JFK from the west. The same applies to flying to LaGuardia from the south when the weather is bad along the route. This actually happened in my video from August 9th on Delta 1021. Make sure you check it out. In that video, we actually flew all the way up to Ohio and then approached New York City from the west. We actually had a change in plans and wound up flying an arrival from the north, which ruined the chances of the Manhattan view. But it's being made up for today. That's Governor's Island down there, which means Manhattan is coming right up.
Approach with evening, basket 36 on the 1,400. United 1946, reduce speed to 180, that's 2,000. Alright, 180 and then down to 2,000. Thank you very much. 36 Hotel Foxtrot, what's the destination? 65 November Juliet, Connie. Where? 65 November Juliet, Connie. I just have off for working, still know where we're at. Roger. Break here, 4655, set to maintain 8,000. 8,000 for your 4655. United 1946, still ready 130. Return 130, Cherry 1946. There, 52 12, send to 4,000, follow the Hudson. Alright, send down to 4,000, take the Hudson going there. 6 Hotel Foxtrot, contact.
Here comes a slight right turn, which terminates us following the Hudson River.
Delta 1021, fighting 050, descent 3,000.
050 down to tree, Delta 1021. We slow down, Delta 1021?
Not yet.
Okay.
United 1946, from ready 100, advised still.
Return 190, flight United 1946.
United 1946, clear visual approach 22, contact LaGuardia Tower.
For the visual approach on 82, power United 1946.
Got it, they're 1020, flighting 050, descent 3,000.
050 down to 3,000.
Therefore, to 70, expedite to 4,000. 55, descend to 4,000, unable to follow the Hudson.
Down to 4,000 and one able, we'll take Hudson North, pick up 46.
American 672, New York, welcome, LaGuardia SMS 3010.
3010.
We have traveled the entire length of Manhattan, primarily by looking out the window until the controller assigned the 50-degree heading. We're now at 3,000 feet looking at the Bronx and are awaiting our right base leg. Today we won't be going out too far based upon the traffic, and we'll be circling the Bronx to get to the other side of the borough. We'll be making a complete U-turn, and we'll be paralleling the Long Island Sound that you can see in the distance. Once we turn, it'll be on the left side of the plane. Here comes our command to turn right, and descend to 2,000 feet.
Delta 1021, turn ready 130, descend 2,000.
130 down to 2, Delta 1021.
The 130-degree heading puts us on a right angle to the final approach course. The final approach course is approximately 220 degrees. We're actually in lower Westchester County now, looking down at the Hillview Reservoir and Yonkers Raceway in Yonkers. There's no traffic approaching runway 22 from the north, so we'll be able to line up at the runway quickly today. If there were more planes ahead of us, we would have continued further north into Westchester before turning back right to join the final approach course. Once our wing level's off, we'll see more of the Bronx. With light air traffic, we'll be turning right to join the final approach course soon via a right turn to 190 degrees. Then we'll get clearance for a visual approach. But first, the controller needs to point out a low-level Cessna Caravan that's transversing this airspace in front of us.
South 1021 traffic, 12 o'clock and a mile and a half, northeast, or northwestbound, Caravan, 1,400.
Okay, we're looking at the Caravan.
Beauty at 10,000, we've got kilo. Delta 1021, turn ready 190, last field in sight.
190, fields in sight, Delta 1021.
Delta 1021, clear visual approach 22, contact tower 187.
Clear visual 22, going 187, have a good day, Delta 1021.
It is well endeavored.
Well, that was quick. We have the field in sight and have been cleared for the visual approach to runway 22. It's way out there in the haze. We can now check in with the control tower, which is located by Terminal B at LaGuardia.
Tower, Delta 1021, 22.
Delta 1021, LaGuardia, 120012, runway 22, clear to land.
22, clear to land, Delta 1021.
We're clear to land on runway 22. In a moment, we'll make the final right-hand turn to line up with the runway. It will be straight ahead once the wings are leveled. Our final turn is over Pelham Bay Park in the Bronx. Unfortunately, the sun is now going to be on this side of the plane, and with the summer haze, we'll have a slightly obscured view on our approximate 220-degree heading while we descend visually toward the runway. At least I got to see what I wanted to see earlier, that Manhattan view. As we approach the southern end of Pelham Bay Park, we have a good view of the Hudson River, which empties into Eastchester Bay on the other side of the plane. On the other side of the river is Co-op City, one of the most notable sites on the runway 22 final approach course. With its tall and bulky buildings, it's the largest housing cooperative in the world. Much of the Bronx is kind of a blur today with the poor air quality, but we can see parts of the Hudson River in the distance because the sun is illuminating it and the light is reflecting well to this angle. Remember that we were just following the Hudson River northbound just a few moments ago while we were on the downwind leg. The land beyond the Hudson River is the state of New Jersey. Passengers on the left side of this plane had a nice close-up view of New Jersey while we were northbound on the Hudson. We can barely make out any details of New Jersey from here as we get lower and lower over the Bronx. The remainder of this approach has us parallel Interstate 95 for a bit as we descend over Pelham Bay, Sugarview, and the Castle Hill neighborhoods of the Bronx. I've done this many, many times and have more detailed descriptions in previous videos where we can see a lot clearer. We'll be landing real soon. But before we touch down on the 7,000-foot-long runway 22, I want to give a special shout-out to my Patreon members. Many fond thanks to Simon Weber, Luca Presti, Sean Collin, and Dan Norquist. If you'd like your name mentioned here, become a Patreon member by visiting patreon.com/Peter Masella. Your support goes a long way. Now let's land on runway 22 in the borough of Queens at LaGuardia Airport directly ahead of us. Finally, a great approach to LaGuardia's runway 22. All right, everybody, I'm gonna end the video here at my favorite airport, LaGuardia Airport. What a fantastic flight that was, and I'm so grateful for the fact that we landed on runway 22 with right traffic. That was an amazing view of Manhattan. Thank you so much for watching this video. Remember that if you're not subscribed to this channel, I invite you to click on the subscribe button, click on the bell button, and I'll be back again with many more videos just like this. Thanks, everybody, and see you on a flight very, very soon.